Hey guys, hope you're doing well. So in this video, I'm just going to be showing you how I use Photoshop and combine that with AI generated visuals that I've created using ChatGPT in this example. Primarily, I did use Midjourney with the new ChatGPT 4 update. I feel like it is a lot easier to walk you through it because prompting is a lot easier. So for this example, I'm actually going to be using Olipop because I like the branding and I feel like it's a well-known brand and it's such an easy example for me to walk you through. And I also will be basing it off this image over here on Pinterest. So I'm not sure if you guys have seen my first video. If you haven't, I'm going to put it in the description below. But basically what I used to do, and this is when I was using Midjourney to create visuals, which I still do here and there, but it's mainly ChatGPT, is I would get this image over here and I would actually break down the image as different components for a image generation prompt. But right now with ChatGPT 4 it's a lot easier, whereby what I need to do is just copy the image of the that I want to reference and also the render I want to add into the image. And I can just basically just tell it what to change. For example, I just asked it to change the background from purple to orange. I keep everything else the same, just for this example. But I could change for example, the skin tones of the models, I guess the clothes they're wearing, to change the sleeves, anything like that. So it is a lot easier to actually start to create images. There's a lot less prompting that needs to be done, which is great. But as you see over here, I've created this image, and first off, you might think it looks great. I mean, it does, to be fair. But if you look in and zoom in, you can see the product labels isn't like accurate 100% just because of the text, and also the icon over here, or the icon graphic, whatever you want to call it, over there isn't like 100% accurate compared to what's over here. So it definitely does need a bit of work, and a lot of people would stop here and they would just be like, okay, cool, I can use this for my ads now. But if you're trying to grow a brand that is reputable and actually try to show to your customers what your product actually looks like, such as the packaging, you want to keep trust, then it's important that you keep things as close as possible to the original source, which is why Photoshop comes in. And what we're going to do is basically get this product render and replace it with these ones over here. And this gives you a good starting point, because previously if you used tools like Midjourney, no matter how you prompted it and you told it which size to use, or you inserted the image to reference, it never really got it 100% accurate. But right now with ChatGPT 4, it is pretty much 1-1, apart from, I guess, the label itself can be a bit weird. And this is like the final piece of the puzzle when it comes to AI image gen. If you're able to use Photoshop to do this, then you can pretty much have as much creative freedom as possible whilst keeping everything brand aligned and accurate. Now, I've already downloaded both of these images, so what you want to do is just download it by clicking there, and then product render, and then go on Photoshop. So the Photoshop you need to get is Photoshop Beta. I pay about £20, I think, per month. But I'm sure you can get a free trial for a month to see if you, just get used to it and see if you like it or not. And just a disclaimer, this isn't a Photoshop tutorial. It's more like a walkthrough. But there's a lot of YouTubers who do a lot of Photoshop tutorials. I could put some in the description just for you to follow. I think it's Pix Imperfect that I've watched a couple of his videos before. And he's really good. He really breaks down the basics really well. But yeah, this is just going to be me walking you through it, and I'll try my best to explain what I'm doing. But again, it's not a Photoshop tutorial. This is just more about me showing you my work for it. But anyway, jumping into Photoshop right now. What you want to do is get a product render, and you want to just then copy it, and then you want to then go to the main image that you generated on ChatGPT. Now, just to go back here, the product render you may have should be transparent in most cases, and you'll know it's transparent if it has these check boxes over here. If not, then you can use the image gen tool and click on remove background, and this will simply remove background for you using AI. Now, going back to this, I'm just going to copy and I'm going to paste that in. And what I'm going to do now is add a smart filter, and this just basically makes it easier for me to go back on any edits I made, types of filters, and everything like that, which will make sense in a bit. And the first thing you want to do is resize this can to be the same size as the hands of the models. So I'm just going to do that over here. and that looks pretty good. So done. And then I'm just going to rotate that and just make sure it fits as accurate as possible. I think that's pretty spot on, which is great. Now, another thing as well is, if you didn't notice, is that there's a bit of a shadow on the can already, which shouldn't be there. And to tackle that, what you'll need to do is click on the layer mask, and it just basically allows you to hide parts of the image without erasing it, so that you can actually still go back and edit it. All of these layer masks and all of this is important, because you don't want to just, for example, remove something and then you have to be like, let's say you want to go back and change it. If you haven't put a layer mask or any mask in general, then it's going to be, you're going to have to basically start again. So this just helps to keep the composite clean. So once you have that there, I'm just going to name this can 1. You want to then click on the white box there, and then you want to use the brush tool over here, or press B to get it. Make sure the flow is 100%. And what I'm going to do is, just for this example, use a hard brush, which will just be solid rather than like it being soft on the edges there. And then I'm just going to and also you need to make sure that this color is black, which you can do by clicking there and making it black there, or just moving that to black there, but that's done. But then I'm just going to rub out the black, so like an eraser, the shadow, sorry, using the black like it's an eraser. And if you want to reduce the brush size, you can click on type on the left square bracket on your keyboard, or if you can't find that, just use the size filter over there. So I'm just going to just go remove the shadows, and we can add our own later on, but just wanted to remove the shadows from the original product photo. So that's done. Cool. Now there's a couple of things we need to do to make this look like the image over here, or the cans over here. So first of all, color matching the first one. To do that, it's pretty straightforward using this Photoshop's new AR features. So to do that, you want to then click on the image, click back on the image in terms of this box over here. Go to filter, neural filters, and what you want to do is go to harmonization, and it just helps you basically, in the description over here actually for it, if it will load. It won't load. Okay, it's there, yeah. So this basically harmonizes the color and luminosity of one layer to another layer to make it a flawless composite. So long story short, this helps you to match the color of the background image to the can over here. So you want to then click on the background, and then you can see right now it's starting to match the background, which is great. It doesn't 100% match the cans here, so you can actually adjust the strength. So I'm just going to go like, try to do it less, or try to do it more. And I feel like doing a bit less is better. So I think I like 65, 60, 63. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Just do it with your eye. And then yeah, 65. I think that's fine. You know, change the brightness and saturation, but we will do that separately on another filter. Press OK, and that gets you pretty close there to the color match, which is great. Now another thing as well you want to do is the hands. So if I just hide this layer over here, so this eye just hides and shows it, you can see that some of the hand, I'm just zooming in, or the finger, sorry, is on top of the can, such as this finger here and this finger here. So to address that, what you need to do is go to the background layer over here. Then you want to then use the quick selection tool, and then what you want to do is just basically highlight the finger in question, or the fingers in question. I'm going to do that one as well just in case. Then you want to copy it, so to do Command C or Control C if you're on the Windows, and then go click on the can layer and then just paste it. So basically what this does is you're going to repaste it on top of the can layer. And I'm just going to name this fingers, and then you can see now the fingers are on top of the can. So if I show, makes a massive difference already, right? It's great. Okay, cool, so that's done. A couple of things I want to do. I want to add a bit of shadow onto the can on the left. So to do that, what you want to do is click on the can itself again, and then click on this icon over here, which is to create a new adjustment layer, and then click on curves. And what you're going to do is add a clipping mask. So you can do that by clicking right click and then do create a clipping mask. And this just basically means that any changes you make will only be applied to this can rather than the whole image. So it just kind of clips into it. And in this case, you're going to keep it very simple. You're going to drag this all the way down and to around here. And you want to then click on this white box here, and then you want to do Command I or Control I, and that just inverses it. Now, what you want to do is go to the brush tool again, click on the soft brush, and then what you want to do is change the flow all the way down to about between 5 to 10%. I'm just going to play around with it. And then you want to make sure this is white because you want it to be the opposite of the color that's over here. And what I'm going to do is just increase the size and start to brush. And if you see it disappear, it means I'm just doing an undo to make sure. But I'm just gonna maybe reduce the flow to 5%. And flow just basically means how strong the brush is. So I'm just gonna just paint or brush just over there, tiny bit, add a bit of shadow. And I think that's good for now. Another thing as well is that you can see here, there's a bit of white on the hands over here. And I think that's from the fingers. So another thing as well you want to do is create a clipping mask, not clipping mask, sorry, a layer mask on top of the fingers to then remove some of the white parts on there. So you just click on the white box here, you zoom in, you then click on the hard brush this time, and then I'm going to go back to 100%. There's a lot of steps here, I know. And then reduce the brush size again, and then change that to black, and then I'm just going to just remove this white parts. And if I zoom out now, that looks a lot better. And finally, I feel like there needs to be a bit of a darker like shadow just below the fingers. So what I'm going to do is below the finger layer, I'm going to create a new layer by clicking on this square and plus over here. Then what I'm going to do is get this soft brush again, reduce the flow back to like, let's say like 5% again, maybe 10% actually. Let's try that. We'll play around with it. And then I'm just going to just simply just brush on the edges just there. And do the same here. Well, it's not really great there, but it's gonna, I mean, their default doesn't need to have it that much, but it's probably worth doing it. And then what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add a bit of shadow on the fingers itself just to make it more realistic. So create a new layer and then add a clipping mask. And to add a clipping mask is a shortcut. You can just click on in between both layers and click on the option button if you're Mac, but if you're not, then just use the clipping mask feature. I don't know what it is on Windows, that's why I'm doing it like that. But anyway, what you want to do is then get a brush again, and just what you're going to just do is simply just, well, reduce the flow to like 5% and just brush a bit on the fingers there, like that. Cool. And that's it for that one. Now, another thing as well you might want to do is play around with the hue saturation. That just kind of just helps to change, I guess, the type of, I don't know what the word is, right? It's like maybe the tint or like the strength of the colors. And then, so to do that, just click on the can again, go to adjustment layers and go to hue and saturation. And then what we can do is just go to the saturation bar over here and then change it to move it forwards. So obviously you see it, the more you do it, the more like orange-ish it gets. The other side it gets grey. So I'm just gonna just find the middle ground. And I'm going to hide and show. And I like that color. I want to keep it there. And I want to keep this one very simple. I'm not going to do much I'm not going to do much with this. I'm just going to keep it like that. Then I'm going to do the same for the other fingers. So what I'm going to do, and you can either just copy this again or use the one there, but I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to paste that and then do the same. So I'm not going to walk you through again, but I'm just going to, you just watch me do it basically. So again, same size, and then clip and mask. Then I'm just going to remove this shadow part here by getting a hard brush, 100% flow, and just removing it. And the thing is, it may seem like there's a lot of steps, but as you keep on using Photoshop, it does become a lot easier. I've been using Photoshop for like since I was 14 years old, and I'm 28 now, so I've been doing it for quite a while. But it's pretty easy when you start to use it a lot in your workflows to pick it up. If you keep on like practicing, watch a lot of videos, you will pick this all up, and it's worth it if you are trying to design high quality statics for your brand or for your client's brand if you're freelancer or agency. So what I'm going to do again is name that Can2. I want to get the fingers again, so I'm going to hide that, go to the background, get the magic wand, quick selection tool by pressing W, and then I'm just going to simply just get all the fingers on top of the can over there, and I'm just going to copy that. And don't worry about getting all this part, we can edit it all out, it's completely fine. So just copy, paste it on top, and then you see it's on top now, which is great. And I want to name this fingers 2. I don't really name layers like that, I'm not going to lie, but it's just easier for this video, right? Or if I have a lot of layers, to be fair, it is quite useful, but most cases I don't, I'm quite bothered. But anyway, then I want to add a layer mask, and then you want to add, get a brush, and then go to let's use a hard brush. And what I'm just going to do simply is just remove that, reduce the size of the brush, and just, paint over. And obviously when I'm doing undo, I'm just doing Control or Command Z, just as normal. And then do the same here. And I think that is fine for that one. And do the same there. Okay, cool. And we're gonna go, of course, add a smart filter, my bad. But yeah, add a smart filter. And then I'm going to do the neuro filters again. I just remember what I did last time, I think it was 65%. Oh, it saves there, which is great. Select the background layer. Press OK. And that's all done, which is great. And then I'm going to add a shadow and a hue saturation layer as normal. So to do that, again, adjustment layer, curves, create a clipping mask. Where is it? There it is, cool. And then go all the way down to make it dark. Inverse it by Command I or Control, Command I. Get the soft brush to about 5% flow. And then make sure this is white to make opposite of that. Nice. And then just brush over there. And then it's just going to be about the fingers, just to make sure to clean up a bit, because right now it's a bit messy. So what I'm going to do is get the brush tool. And actually I'm going to just, so wait, what am I doing? Okay, flow there. And what am I going to do is, no, I'm just going to remove the black parts here. And I think I think clean up a bit. And then what I'm going to do is zoom in for this one. Don't know what's going on there. But it looks fun anyway when we zoom out, so I'm not going to stress about that. Anyways, and what I'm going to do again is add a shadow under the fingers. And what am I doing? Okay, sorry, I'm just doing the most random stuff right now. But again, go soft brush, change the flow to like 5%, and then again, create the layer on top of the, well, below the fingers, add a clipping mask, zoom in again, and then just paint just dark, like the black, just like that. Do the same as that. Do the same as that. That looks good enough. Yeah, we'll stick with that. And again, you want to then create a new layer on top of the fingers, clipping mask, and I'm just gonna basically just add a bit of shadow on the fingertips there. Nothing too fancy. Yeah, that's pretty good. And then again, finally, I'm gonna add a hue and saturation adjustment layer. Just go crease it there. I think that's cool. Yeah, fuck it, that works. Cool. So for the last can, I'm gonna just speed run this because I think you know how to do that now. So just watch me do it. Cool. So I just decided to skip forward and just show you the final 3 cans in the right hands. And what I'm just gonna do now is just kind of add a color lookup, which I've just started to do right now. So to do that, what you want to do is go to filter, color lookup, and it just basically is like different filters for like camera filters. I think that's a good way to describe it. To tie things together, so you can just try the different ones. Tie things together. There's some cool ones, to be fair. Just pick one that you feel like works best. I'm just gonna go through some of them and just pick one which I feel I like the most. Also, you can kind of play around with the opacity, which just kind of tells you how strong you want it to be. As an example, I might just use this one. I always like using this one, to be fair. It's the Fuji 5125 Kodak 23951. And I just adjust it a bit with the opacity. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a new layer. And I'm going to do image, apply image. And it just basically adds the entire image, like all the layers into one image. And I'm going to do filter, convert to smart filter so I can edit it easier after. And what I'm going to just do is add a, where is it? Camera raw filter. And what this allows me to do is just add some grain to the photo, which makes it look a bit more realistic. So I normally add about 10 to 15% or 20 sometimes, but I think let's do 17 because why not? 17%. I don't know if you can see the difference, but it just, you can see a bit of texture there, which just kind of makes a big difference. Yeah, it's pretty much it. And then what you want to do is then save this as a PNG, so you can use it for if you want to add this to Figma, for example, to add text to it further, which I normally do. I never do on Photoshop, just a lot easier to use on Figma. So what I just do is export and then do save as a PNG, export, and then save as Olipop example, or whatever you want to call it. And just to give you some game, if you want to just make this format in the right format for, let's say, a story or a reel, if you're creating statics in terms of that 916 format, what you can actually do is create a new layer and then do width 1080 and height 1920, which is what it, wait, that's wrong, I don't know what's going on there. So 1080 by 1920, and that's just the format for if you want to create for like a story or reels, right? If you're using it for ads, what you want to do simply is open the layer for the image that you created, copy it and paste it in. Just to let you know, just double click on the layer there, change it from background to like an actual layer you can copy and paste. That's what I like to do. And then you can just go like that. And actually, what I want to do is drop that all the way down, but it depends on the format for stories. I know that it cuts it off over there. So let me just create a bit more space over there. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna click on Command or Control on the keyboard, click on the layer, and this will just basically select the layer. And then you want to do an inverse, so do Command Shift I, or you can do it over here by selecting inverse, and that just basically selects the empty space that needs filling. And what you're going to do is simply use generative fill, and then don't type in anything there, click on generate, and that should basically fill in the area with basically anything that makes it fit the scene. So in this case, it'll probably be the orange background. And you can see over here, it's pretty much done that, which is pretty cool. And you can also have 3 options to pick from. So you can use that looks pretty bad, and that, but I like the first one, I think the best. Where is it? That, yeah. And then again, you can save that as normal, and then use that for your static ads campaigns for story formats. So yeah, hope you guys found that helpful. And if you're an e-com brand looking to create scroll-stopping visuals like these for your brand, which combine AI and the human touch, or you want to create static ads which use visuals like these and combine that with creative strategy and copywriting, then book a call with me below. The link's in the description, and we can go from there. Peace.